If you are a fearful avoidant, anxious attachment, or even a secure person who has found yourself chasing after an avoidant partner in one way or another, maybe overthinking every text, attaching to outcomes that never seem to work out the way that you hoped or planned, then this video is going to change everything for you. There's one major shift in awareness that will stop this cycle of chasing. And when you understand it, you will never need to chase an avoidant again. So in today's video, we're going to cover 5 key insights first that explain why this chasing cycle creates suffering and what we can actually start practicing instead so that you can stop clinging to what you can't control and return to the relationship to yourself. And most importantly, at the end of this video, I'll take you through a really powerful exercise that will truly shift and transform your awareness in this area really, really fast so that you don't have to go back to those same old painful patterns. So the very first thing I want to share with you is the important concept of non-attachment. Now, non-attachment is different than detachment. It's not about shutting down, cutting somebody off, and completely detaching and suppressing your feelings. No, non-attachment isn't about not caring or repression. It is about learning how to care without clinging. When you are feeling anxious or you're chasing, suffering comes more from attaching to outcomes or ideas about what the future should be according to your own expectations. Things like, this person should have called me back by now. This person shouldn't be showing up in this particular way in a relationship. And when we attach to these concepts and ideas, it takes us out of our own personal power because we move from our own inner world where we can have some semblance of control into the external world where we won't have control. And this is going to take me to point number 2 of our 5 key insights, which is that we need to be able to stop this overanalyzing, overthinking, and overattaching to outcomes in our external world. Because when we do this, you move away from your own inner duty. Now, there's a beautiful Hindu concept and often Buddhist concept of inner duty, which is this idea that we have a responsibility to ourselves to show up authentically, to show up in a way where we're actually tending to the garden of our own inner world. And when we are finding ourselves going outside of ourselves, thinking, okay, I need to control this person, or I need to people please this person more, or show up differently, or say the right thing, or change this messaging on my text so that this person might want to respond to me then. The moment you're getting into that space, you have abandoned the inner duty to your own inner world. And the main reason for this is the fact that we get caught up in trying to control somebody else's behavior as an attempt to control how that behavior is making us feel. And it's really this roundabout way of trying to just control how you feel. Well, why not if you could just go inwards and control how you feel directly? And that's what we're going to get into here. And really, the ways to control how we feel directly are things like regulating our nervous system, honoring our needs, working through these scary stories we've projected in our mind that, oh my gosh, if this person rejects me, I'm going to be alone forever, or it must mean I'm not good enough. So we're going to talk about this in more detail with the exercise at the end, but I just want to cover these key concepts first, okay? So the more you chase the outer world and you try to control outside of yourself, the more you abandon your inner world and your inner duty to your own feelings, to your own nervous system, and to your own needs. And your own mind, and this is really concept number 3 of 5 here before the exercise, your own mind is often creating your own suffering. And I really want to break this down for you so that you see it, because this is honestly one of the most important places to try to tend to the inner duty of our own world. And it's this idea that your conditioning and your nervous system essentially trick you into suffering. And psychology calls this negativity bias. And if you imagine this analogy for a second, where you go into the woods and you see a bear and you run away and you're safe, and then you start talking to all of your friends and family about, oh my gosh, a bear chased me today. What do you remember from that experience with the bear? You don't remember the beautiful flower or the nice looking tree next to the bear when you saw it. You remember very vividly the bear and probably its teeth and its claws. And this is because your mind is actually wired to hang on to negative or threatening things more than positive things as a way to protect you. But what this does is it instead conditions your inner reality and your own inner world to constantly fear and even more importantly, reproject out the potential of that threat. So now let's imagine that you were to go back into the woods the next day. Well, the moment you would hear the wind blowing the trees or the bushes rustling in the distance, I mean, what would you do? Your mind's going to go right to imagining that it's the bear and the bear is coming. And that actually serves us in the context of if you're out in the world trying to survive and you're in like predator prey scenarios. But this doesn't serve you when your own inner conditioning and your own mind for decades has been holding on to, let's say, the fear of abandonment from childhood. If you had a parent who wasn't consistent with you or didn't show up well enough. And as a result of that abandonment, what do you do as an adult? You assume at a subconscious level in your conditioning that every person is that parent and every person is about to abandon you the moment there's a break in their pattern of texting or in communication. So, just like the bear in the woods, you reproject out the fear of that threat coming about and you go, oh my gosh, the abandonment might be coming. They're pulling away. They're texting less. What's going on? And this then in turn causes us to catastrophize. And our mind in these moments of catastrophization thinks things like if they don't text back, they're leaving. Or if they're not being consistent, maybe they're about to betray me. Or, if I'm not getting a good response for them, perhaps I'm unlovable or I'm unworthy. And as a result of this, your mind, in its attempt to protect you from threat, instead is creating its own suffering. In other words, in a sense, your mind is attacking itself. And it's doing this with good intentions. It's doing this from this way of trying to prepare you for the perceived threat. But I want you to actually ask yourself the question, what has this same old storytelling taught me? Or really, what is this repeating of these same old stories? What has this done to me over the years? How has this hurt me or put me in a place where like I am constantly walking on eggshells, constantly trying to people please to avoid this pain. And then I'm going out into my external world trying to control everybody else's reactions to me instead of just going direct to my own inner world and healing that fear within me. And that's where, on point number 4 of 5 here, this is about recycling our focus from the external world where we can't control everything into tending to our own inner garden. And when we get lost in all of these external stories, not just of all these fears and projections of these scenarios and these ideas of what could go wrong and what's going to take place, and when we also think this person should be responding differently to me in order for me to feel okay, we move our personal power of focus into the outside world, which, by the way, you are never going to be able to truly control, and it will leave you feeling more out of control than ever. And so the real work actually starts with going within and truly tending to your own inner garden. And you'll see this powerful wisdom of going inward instead of outward through all ancient traditions. Hindu philosophy often refers to this as dharma or inner duty. It's a sacred responsibility to actually align with who you truly are and manage and tend to your own inner responses and emotions first. In Christianity, Proverbs says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. And what this essentially is referring to is that when you know your own heart and know your own self, you stop chasing this approval outside of yourself and you get centered on catering to your own essentially inner child within you. And even in Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths teach us that suffering or dukkha comes from clinging to the external world. And the actual way to circumvent some of this clinging is to practice non-attachment to outside concepts and outcomes and instead inner focus on what we can control within us. So I want to take you through a really powerful exercise that will help you break and really change this shift in your awareness so that you do not constantly find yourself going from relationship to relationship or situation to situation chasing another human being. Before I do this, I will share with you if you want to check out courses that help you recondition all of those painful stories that just go on in your mind and projections of all of these outcomes. We have a whole course you can check out fully for free for a limited time called the Emotional Mastery and Belief Reprogramming course. It helps you really rewire and recondition your inner dialogue and really tend to your own inner garden and those stories that chronically show up for you. And That actually comes for a very limited time with a whole course you can keep for life, all about what a secure and healthy relationship looks like. So both of those you get free access to, and I'll put that link down below. Now here's the exercise, okay? I want you to, if you can, get a pen and paper, and if not, feel free to do this exercise just in your mind. But I want you to think of the different outcomes and ideally write them down, the outcomes in relationships that you are trying to control. And I really want you to think of those moments when you're chasing, or those moments when you're trying to rewrite a text message just to say the perfect thing so that somebody will respond, or to say just the right thing that will make the other person think highly of you. And once you've taken a moment to write out a few of those things, okay, those outcomes that you're trying to control, I'm trying to seem lovable, I'm trying to seem worthy, or I want this person to want to invest in me, or I want this person to make an effort back. I want you to think of a couple of those moments. And then I want you to draw a line down your page, just like a column straight down your page. And I want you to ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I don't control those outcomes? If I don't say the perfect thing, or if I don't send the message within a certain period of time, or if I don't hear back from the person, like what am I afraid will actually happen? And then what I want you to recognize is that fear is the exact suffering that you are trying to prevent in the outer world because it already pre-exists in the conditioning of your inner world. For example, maybe you think if I just send this right next message to the person, they're going to think I'm good enough and worthy of investing in. And when you ask yourself that next question, well, what am I afraid will happen if I don't have control over that? Well, I'm scared that that just inherently means I'm unworthy if I'm not getting the approval that I'm hoping to get from that person. That then means that that very fear is something that you've been neglecting to see consciously from your own subconscious conditioning or ego mind's programming. And unfortunately, that conditioning is just that. It's yours. And it's almost always not even true. And so we end up in this dynamic because of painful past experiences like that bear in the woods, thinking, oh my gosh, I must be unworthy. Oh my gosh, I must be unlovable. Oh my goodness, I need this person to respond to me, or else it's confirming this very fear that I am unlovable or I am unworthy. And now I want you to ask yourself, and this is this thing that's truly going to start shifting this for you if you commit to doing this daily. I want you to ask yourself, how would I like somebody to show me the opposite of this idea I'm carrying about myself? So how would I like somebody to show me that I'm good enough, or that I'm worthy, or that I'm lovable? Then I want you to turn that around and start treating yourself that way. Maybe it would be that somebody honors your boundaries. Guess what your work is? To honor your own boundaries. Maybe it would be to make sure that you are in a position where somebody would validate you more often. Guess what your work is? Time to start self-validating and acknowledging your wins. Maybe it would be for somebody to invest in you. And in that case, the question becomes, how can I better invest in my own self? What does that look like for me? Maybe in my own goals, my own dreams, maybe just investing in my health or my healing. And I want you to really take some time to think about it. Because when we can start gifting these things to ourselves inwardly and stop trying to control the external world over and over again to avoid these inner fears that live within us, that is when those inner fears start to shift and change. And it really becomes like you're plucking your own weeds out of your own inner garden. And in doing that, you will start to see your life come full circle, and you will no longer cope in the world by trying to chase or trying to control things outside of you, which will not only bring you inner peace and healing, but it will also allow you to uphold your standards in relationships and finally end up with somebody who's willing to treat you the way that ultimately, in a loving way, you will have learned to treat yourself. So that's it for today. Remember, you can go a lot deeper into this and kind of shortcut the process into healing a lot more efficiently by diving into our actual emotional mastery and belief reconditioning course. It's fully free, along with how to build a secure relationship course, and you'll get lifetime access to that course as well. That link is down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, I hope you like, share, and subscribe, and even share this with somebody who might find it useful. Thanks for watching.